tip of the day number 11. Some healthcare and other frontline workers may unfortunately experience avoidance by the family or community due to stigma or fear. This can make a challenging situation far more difficult. If possible, staying connected with your loved ones through digital methods is one way to maintain contact. Need help and support? Please contact us at the hotline 311, psychosocial support at 722-6575 or 518-4157. Brought to you by PAHO, the OECS Commission, and UNICEF.
I can't stay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, June 15th, 2021. As always, I'm very happy to be here with you, and let's get right into it. I think before we begin, though, I just want to say good morning to those of you community active. I laugh at the girls so much with the community activities. I can't even say it right anymore. Community activists, good morning. Before we begin with anyone else, I want to say good morning to you, and how, many of you around the country, you're doing a phenomenal job, and it's needed now more than ever when we have an administration, a government, whatever else, that clearly, in many instances, in many sectors, they're not doing what they have to do. So thank you for trying to help fill that void. And for the rest of us, I guess, good morning to you if you're listening to us on our radio partner station, that is Hits FM 92.1. 91.1. Also, if you are watching us on the different social media platforms, or we are streaming at this moment, then good morning to you. And also, that includes Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of the others. TikTok, Twitch, of course. And we cannot forget those of you watching us on channel 124 on Flow. Thank you very much for joining us. That's UTV Underground Television. Like I said earlier, I think with what I've seen and the people who are out there doing what they think they have to do, helping people in the community, and with everything, the marginalized that we're seeing, people who are not being helped financially in some ways, it's very, very difficult. So the people who take up that mantle and decide, they're going to advocate for something, they're going to help the community with regards to education or violence, to help cope that as well. Whatever it is, I think there is a place for you at all times, but especially now when we're seeing what we're doing, seeing what we're experiencing. And I say this because I saw something over the weekend in Viewfort, where a football match, and they wanted to be a tournament, but it was bringing different young men around Viewfort together, different communities from Bakade and wherever else in the town, coming together to play football. And to some looking out, it wouldn't mean much, but I think just having people in the different areas come together for fun, and there's laughter, and we've seen a lot of violence down there and in other parts of the country as well, but it was just nice to see. And for that reason, I think that's where we'll start, something good on a nice note. And I would encourage anyone who feel that they want to assist in any way with that sort of endeavor, or any of the others, to do so if you can. So let's take a look. Okay, yeah, everything's safe. Tell me what happened in there today, right now.
Well, we have a little stock around, you know. No, non-profitable. Yeah, no registration fee. Just doing something to bring peace and unity back in Viewport, you know. With all the wars, all the violence. We just want the youth to know they free up in Viewport, man. So APA, alongside certain sponsors, you know. Enough of them to call, you know, so I won't call names, you understand? Yeah. So we bring back peace to Viewport, man.
So what's it been like so far? What's the
well, the turnout, as you can see, you know, it could be better, you know, but we satisfied, man.
Yeah.
We want more people from Bruceville and other communities to come choose still, you know, that it's part of the Viewport Basin, you know.
So it'll continue? Like,
well, I hope if the sponsors come along, I'm trying to pull on marathon, you know.
Okay.
To make the youth free up their pressure on them. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, right here.
And like I said, it was really heartwarming. It's really nice to see, and I encourage anybody, if you want to assist in any way, then you can do so. And also want to commend APA and so many of the others who do know and feel what it's like, and they're doing what they can from where they are to assist with some of the social ills that we are seeing. Now, let's go on to something else. I think we understand certain businesses and certain sectors that have been impacted by COVID and the protocols that have come with it. And for some, they're waiting. People are waiting for somehow to see some change, to get business back running again. And chief of them, that's again with tourism. So we'll start with tourism and the reopening of that sector, but in particular with the cruise ships. So I know a lot of people, from vendors to taxi drivers. I know the taxi drivers have been suffering. And I remember distinctly, you know, if people are not getting, you know, some kind of finance in the way that they are used to, taxi drivers being used against the bus drivers and that sort of thing, because, you know, when you're starving, people trying to pitch you against other sectors. And I remember Norbert doing that distinctly. I don't know why, but it always comes to my mind when I think of taxi drivers and the taxi sector. And I haven't heard much from them, but I do remember a failed attempt, I guess, at Norbert and the UWP operatives and trying to use the taxi people. They're not getting any business, so use them to try to belittle what the bus drivers were doing. So I think in all of that, people have been waiting for them to make some money in the way that they are used to. So I think with the cruise ship sector and what was promised there, we need to delve into that. So let's start and know exactly what was expected.
Meantime, the local tourism sector is poised for a major bounce back from the impact of COVID-19. Stakeholders are gearing up to welcome the first international cruise ship since the closure of the sector last year amid the global COVID-19 pandemic. The country is in preparation mode to receive the first international cruise ship since the closure of the sector due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Royal Caribbean Cruise Line's Celebrity Millennium has indicated St. Lucia as a stop on its itinerary in mid-July, along with the islands of Barbados and St. Martin. This decision was made after ample discussion with local authorities. Doreen Georges, Public Relations Manager of the St. Lucia Tourism Authority, SLTA, explains the strict protocols which will guide the arrival of the ship.
Preliminary discussions with Royal Caribbean include a commitment that both passengers and crew over the age of 18 years would all have been vaccinated, full compliance to pre-arrival COVID-19 testing, and that tour operations would be conducted within a green corridor or bubble. Additionally, all persons disembarking would be subject to the standard protocols of wearing of a face mask, physical distancing, and sanitizing.
Georges says the overall aim is to ensure, while the cruise ship sector can continue to benefit the local economy, the local populace is kept safe.
A special committee has been established to provide oversight to the resumption of cruise tourism, which include the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Health, Port Health, St. Lucia Air and Seaports Authority, Invest St. Lucia, Customs, Immigration, Port Security, the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, St. Lucia Tourism Authority, and cruise agencies Cox & Company Limited and Foster & Ince. We are enthusiastic that with the advent of science and technology amid this pandemic, we can prepare for a silver lining.
Communications with key sector agencies have begun, with the focus remaining health and safety. According to Doreen Georges, the coming weeks will see increased dialogue with suppliers and operators, and the committee will hold regular meetings. The agenda to include
the review and approval of protocols for the reopening of the sector, a review of the terminal and its operations, and logistics for excursions within protocol. From the Government Information Service, Humadi Mark reporting.
And I think it is important to know what the plans were and how they are changing in some regards. So people clearly during George's they're hopeful of something that would look like the reopening of the cruise ship sector, but we are getting news that some things are changing and for the worse. So some cruise ships are deciding not to come here, so we have to look at that as well. And I think not to hamper on anyone's excitement or anything, but I do think we need to be logical, we need to be realistic, so people can have all the plans that they want, but the world, as we've seen with COVID, it's changing around us, and we are almost, in some ways an afterthought when big businesses need to make money or they themselves are concerned about different issues. That again, it does call, and I have heard a lot of farmers speak about that, and other people in different sectors, for some kind of attention to be given to them, for some of the funds being given to them. So I think even now, when yet again over the course of a year we've seen how things can change globally and how that would impact us. So with the cruise ship, for example, at least one so far, one of the cruise ships, they've decided not to come here for their own reasons. So let's take a look at that.
As St. Lucia gets ready for the reopening of the cruise ship season, NBC Prime has learned that at least one line may have cancelled its calls to St. Lucia for now. Senior correspondent Miguel Favre has the details in this report.
In late May, St. Lucia's health and tourism officials announced that the island was gearing up to welcome the first international cruise since the pandemic. The Royal Caribbean Cruise Line signaled their return, naming St. Lucia as a port of call on a mid-July itinerary. NBC Prime obtained, however, a copy of St. Lucia's 2021 to 2022 cruise itinerary for the period June 2021 to the end of September 2022. According to the document, and reported by NBC Prime 2 weeks ago, the first cruise vessel scheduled was the Celebrity Millennium on Wednesday, June 16th. Sources close told Prime, however, up until Monday, June 14th, there was uncertainty over Millennium's arrival. In fact, this supplementary itinerary shows, according to information received, that all the vessels scheduled stopped June 16th and 21st, July 14th and 28th, August 11th and 25th have been cancelled as well. The rationale for the cancellation has not been determined as yet, although NBC Prime has learned that a high-level stakeholder meeting took place Friday, June 11th. Norwegian cruise lines have also cancelled their cruise calls, scheduled for July and August, not only to St. Lucia, but other ports of call as well. We spoke with the local agent who disclosed that this decision was made by Norwegian following numerous considerations. Chief among them, challenges in mobilizing their over 1,000 employees to get them vaccinated, coupled with the dynamism of the COVID fight and the ever-changing protocols. St. Lucian tourism officials have stated that tour operations coming out of the cruise vessels will be conducted within a green corridor, whereby cruise passengers are allowed to visit COVID-certified sites. There has been anxiety, however, among those most dependent on the cruise sector. Tenants at both La Place Carenage and Point Seraphin only 2 weeks ago lamented that they are being kept in the dark about their place in the grand scheme of things. After a year with little to no income as a result of the COVID lockdowns and cancellation of last year's cruise season, they were concerned about whether they would be included in that so-called green corridor. This was the island's chief medical officer, May 19th.
In relation to Point Seraphin, as far as the discussion has been, is that Point Seraphin being the ship's berth there, that they would be a part of the sites and attraction. The difference would be is that on the days when the cruise ships come in, locals would not be allowed to access the shops on that day. So this is a discussion that is happening, and the Ministry of Tourism is liaising with the various sectors to ensure that all of the necessary protocols are put in place.
The vendors at the Castries Vendors Arcade, led by Craft and Dry Good Vendors Association President Peter Ras Ipa Isaac, are concerned as well that they may not benefit from cruise passenger traffic, their primary source of income. NBC Prime understands that this will be dependent on the vendors' vaccination status.
So again, a lot of uncertainty for something as vital as that. And we're there to wait to see, the other cruise ships, what will be the decisions taken. But I think it also speaks to vendors and how they, once again, getting the short end of the stick. And Peter Rasaipa Isaac, we've seen him a lot over the year, speaking about COVID, speaking about the lack of consultation, speaking like they seem to be an afterthought. And one would think, maybe it'll change, maybe they'll see the errors of the error of their ways and try to talk to the people, try to have meetings with them, and not just go there when you need some votes or anything and try to take the pictures like we've seen Shasni do. I think it continues to show disrespect to the vendors. So I think even now for us to know where everything is, so what it'll be like, what it will sound like when the sector reopens. We'll get the long speech, we'll get, it's predictable. But I think when they come with the fluff pieces, this is the actual reality, that vendors would have to all be vaccinated to even get a chance at some of the tourists coming in. If that happens, they've not been consulted or anything. So I think we need to know where we are with that.
July 2021, St. Lucia will welcome its first international cruise ship since the pandemic. The tourism sector was one of the hardest hit during the peak of the pandemic, and with it came the collapse of many other subsectors which relied on tourism to thrive. The president of the Dry Goods Vendors Association, Peter Rasaipa Isaac, says the reintroduction of the cruise sector is more than welcomed news for vendors in the craft market and the Castries Arcade. However, there are many concerns that have not been addressed by the relevant authorities.
And that would be something that is very good for St. Lucia and also for people who depend, who are very dependent on this particular sector. But what is really, puzzling to me is that nothing has really been done in terms of the preparation for the markets, the vendors, arcade, the craft market, and so on. And I'm just asking myself, why, we have a ship, maybe by the 16th of this month, we have our first ship berthing in our harbor, and we haven't had no kind of preparation, to certify these markets so as to, welcome cruise visitors. Are we out of the loop? We're hearing that other areas have been well organized, well prepared, and have been certified.
He says there have been meetings with the CCC, the Ministry of Tourism, Health, and the Command Center. However, to date, there has been no response as to what protocol or what will be put in place to ensure the smooth reintroduction of tourists into the berthing ports.
We had made it abundantly clear that we are not in the position in any way to establish any kind of protocol. In the initial stage, we would expect that the Authority City Council or the Command Center or the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Health would come and in the initial stage set something up with us or for us. And then afterwards, maybe it would be some responsibility will be left upon us after people have made some money. Because as you know, it's a whole year and more. It's about 15 months we haven't done or we haven't driven a stroke. No money is not coming in our way.
Isaac says as the time draws nearer, members of the association are extremely anxious as to what the reopening of the sector will hold.
We really want to know where we are. We had a discussion with the Ministry of Tourism last week about some things, but they're saying to us they are not the ones who are responsible to doing all the certification and the establishment of all the protocols. It is really the Ministry of Health. By that time, boats are already coming in. And the vendors arcade, the craft market, and the other areas are not certified as COVID certified, so people could come in there. And they're already saying that if you're not certified, they will not encourage tourists to come there. Okay. The other thing is they're saying that that while tourists are in the vendors arcade or in any of these markets, including Point Seraphine, local people will not be allowed to visit, and all these kind of things we are hearing. So we are lost in terms of this whole thing.
He says vendors wait with bated breath to hear what measures will be put in place for the reopening of the craft market and the arcade.
I can't stay.
Welcome. to the entertainment nation on steroids. UTV and Hits FM, sinking the eyes and the ears of tomorrow today. Not only can you see it, you can feel it. Airing on channel 124 or tune into radio 92.1 FM is Tresha Lionel in the morning at 11 and the ever controversial Revolution with Christopher Hunt. That's right, we don't do it normal. Stay locked in with UTV and Hits FM, channel 124 and 92.1 FM. UTV, TV for you.
Hey girl, what's your name? What's your name? Hey,
you're in a good mood.
Girl, if I tell you, I just pre-registered for the COVID vaccine. Hey, but this.
Supporting you in getting vaccinated is important to us at the Ministry of Health. By selecting one of the options for pre-registering, it helps us to be better prepared and more efficient at managing your demand for vaccination. There are 3 ways to pre-register for your COVID-19 vaccine. 1. Go online by visiting https://hmi.govt.lc/. 2. Contact your closest wellness center. Or 3. Contact your private physician. When we get vaccinated, we don't only protect our health, we are taking action that benefits the health of our entire nation. Vaccinate for you, for yours, for us. A message brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Oh.
Read it on the beat.
How I make you just a cock it up, back it up, fling it up on me so heaven in your waistline when you make it roll. Enough gyal a road that tell me say them have it too, but none of them don't have it like you. When it come to wine and skill, gyal you know you are the baddest. Them a dancehall queen, but you a dancehall goddess. Them gyal a road really need little practice, but everything I need, girl, you have it. Cause you's a professional bump and roller, qualified waistline controller. You a bubbling general, them gyal they just a bubbling soldier. You's a professional bump and roller, qualified waistline controller. If them girl they a bubbling boss, you a bubbling CEO. Yeah, work 7 days straight feet. Man, I hope and pray feet. And if them
I can't stay.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. So, with the campaigning, we've had that discussion before. I guess we have it every Monday because something is always happening over the weekend. I've shown you video footage of what it looks like in Sufra and wherever else you would hear Al Prince was talking about Emma, but I hear now he apologized or whatever that happened yesterday. You'll see Herod not dancing or whatever that was, and the rest of it and all of it, and Richard winded to the ground, or whatever goes on with the campaign. So I thought it was important for us to know what exactly the protocols are for campaigning, because the document has been leaked on what the protocols are for political parties as they campaign in the middle of COVID. And with everything that we're seeing and the 2 St. Lucia's that we speak about and everything else, I think it is important that we know what the department, what they're looking for, what is against the rules, because clearly even when we saw that vehicle try to run through some of the SLP supporters, I haven't heard anything on that as well. I would like to see, or like to know what's the latest on that. Have reports been made? Has the police, are they investigating, that sort of thing? So yeah, we're going to take a look at what the protocols are for campaigning, and we'll be looking in the weekend and the weekends to come and the weeks to come, the days to come, whether they are being adhered to. Let's take a look.
By all indications, St. Lucia is firmly in the grips of an unconventional election season, one where public health guidelines essentially outlaw additional campaigning activities such as rallies, motorcades, and other large public gatherings. Despite this, there have been multiple campaign-style activities within the last few weeks, most recently on Sunday. As the country inches closer and closer to election 2021, it is reasonable to assume that such activities will intensify, becoming more frequent and drawing larger crowds. So, what protocols, if any, are in place to protect St. Lucians as they campaign and mobilize under the threat of a pandemic? Our news team recently came into possession of a draft document which outlines proposed protocols to minimize the risk of direct and indirect virus transmission during election-related activities. While health and other government officials have confirmed the veracity of this document, they have declined to comment until it is finalized. We understand that the document is currently before Cabinet, and once discussed, all political parties will be engaged regarding these suggested protocols. The document briefly outlines protocols for the pre-election campaign, including a need for the administration to design a COVID-19 action plan, which must be reviewed by the Environmental Health Division prior to the campaign period. This plan should detail the measures which will be implemented to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 during campaigns, such as social distancing guidelines, sanitizing measures, and perhaps most importantly, procedures for dealing with an individual who becomes ill at a rally. In the pre-campaign period, voter education appears to be a priority as the document mentions sensitization for communities, party supporters, and politicians. This includes the need to develop and publicize a code of conduct for parties, as well as the dissemination of clear messaging which promotes behavior such as hand hygiene, respiratory etiquette, and of course, practicing physical distancing. As for the actual campaign period itself, this will be guided by whether the number of infections in country are increasing, declining, or stabilizing. This, in conjunction with existing regulations, will help to determine whether public rallies will be allowed. According to the document, in-person meetings should be limited and done virtually as much as possible. However, where they are allowed, public meetings, conferences, and in-person rallies would be subject to a number of restrictions. For example, a physical distancing guideline of a minimum of 30 square feet per individual is suggested. This is coupled with wearing of face coverings and measures such as recording the details of all attendees for the purpose of contact tracing. Public rallies should also have a limited number of attendees based on the size of the venue, as well as adequate security and crowd control measures. In terms of reaching out to the electorate, politicians and parties are encouraged to, quote, adopt or expand access to media and other methods for remote campaigning, end quote. Among the suggestions are televised debates, press briefings, and other events broadcast via the media. We have, of course, seen a proliferation of party-centered programming emerging in recent months. Motorcades, which have long been an election season staple, will also be subject to restrictions. Participants must not gather outside vehicles before or after the motorcade and should remain inside their vehicles throughout the event. Each vehicle must contain individuals from the same extended bubble family, and the route should be as short as possible. Everyone must disperse as soon as the motorcade has ended. The document notes that applications for the hosting of motorcades and rallies should be put in through the Office of the Commissioner of Police a certain number of days in advance. Based on the draft document, the time frame for this has not yet been decided. Now, it is important to note that these suggested protocols are not final, and according to the document itself, they will be subject to constant review. They will, of course, be applied in conjunction with all existing applicable laws and regulations, which would guide public health and all election activities generally. Our news team will, of course, seek to keep you informed on these and other developments related to the conduct of elections 2021. For Choice News Now, I'm Annie Mathre reporting.
Like I said, really interesting to hear some of the suggestions being put there. And like with that report, it's not finalized, but even things where you have to send in your application for the motorcade to the Commissioner of Police some certain days before. if that doesn't concern you, and what we know to happen, especially within the Royal St. Lucia Police Force and with the police commissioner and now the deputy and everything else, it will be interesting. It's not surprising to see how that will be. So, but that was just for our own edification. I think we need to know it. And on another topic that we've discussed from last week, and I promised that we would not drop it. It's not something that you can just gloss over like it doesn't happen, because I think with the Pejora letter, it really does show how corrupt the system is and how people just dismiss protocols and the ways of good governance just to have your family, friends, and foreigners benefit in whatever way they can. And like I said before, it would be interesting to see the responses from the hacks and everything else. We've already seen Nancy pretend that she doesn't know what's wrong with it, and I don't want to give that any more airtime than it deserves, which was none. But I did so yesterday, so I don't think there's a need for that. I wanted to hear from Guy Joseph, to be quite honest with you. And the Pejora letter, and for some, maybe some people haven't fully understood it. And I hate when we continue to see where people continue to take advantage of other people's ignorance, or if people don't know, trying to make it seem to be something that it isn't. Like it's just it's inconsequential, it's a non-entity, these people just making something big out of nothing. That is not the case. And I understand, Nancy started off and now Guy, but everybody else, if you've noticed, they've been so quiet. And some of the braver reporters, braver people in media, they would ask the questions if they're afforded the opportunity. We clearly don't get the press conferences that we used to anymore. But again, it takes courage to stand in the face of corruption and of power. And who right now can you say in cabinet is more powerful than the prime minister's prime minister? So with everybody afraid of Guy, it has to come to a point where people tell him, that's wrong. That cannot be right. The corrupt practices that we're seeing here. And some people might be quiet, some people might be at their homes not knowing what to say and everything else. But I think St. Lucia has come to a point where you have to see where something is wrong. So let's listen to what Guy Joseph has had to say about the Pejora letter. The Pejora letter really is a letter signed by Guy Joseph as some guarantee to a loan to be given to the Pejora company. And it's written to whom it may concern. So that person, Pejora, can just take that letter signed by Guy Joseph and give it to anybody. Give it to anybody because it's to whom it may concern. By n'importe moun pour se moun bari la han ek ikaidi se Guy Joseph ki voye. Ek sa pa role Guy pas supposé faire ça. He is not the prime minister, he's not the minister of finance, he doesn't have parliamentary approval. It is wrong in every sense of it. And for us and for St. Lucians, I do not want it to be a thing where, they mama Guy us again and it's swept under the carpet and people try to change it into something that it's not. So with all that being said, in all of the weight, let's listen to Guy Joseph's explanation, excuse, whatever you want to call it, with this Pejora letter.
Champagne, I've heard a lot of discussion about some letter again, they say, that's circulating about that Pejora letter.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. I've never heard more foolishness in my life. That is what the Labour Party has.
That's what they
a letter that says if you do projects, you will get paid. A letter that says if you are engaged and you meet the requirements. Do they understand what investment is and getting investors into St. Lucia? So, to say that there's a letter and that letter isn't... Now, I have said I cannot account for letters that circulate on social media. I can account for letters that are written and in the files of government. Because people can take any letter, they can doctor information, they can do things, they can say things. You get these things. But I want to tell them, did that letter give a list for the seabed in St. Lucia? Did that letter give mining rights to Robert Ainsworth for all the 4,000 acres of land that he was being promised by the Labour Party government. Did this letter guarantee cost overruns for Rochelle? Did this letter pardon people under the NCA and give them jobs in Guyana? What? You see, when these people want to come in and talk about, everything they accuse me of Champagne is what would have been.
Yeah.
When I listen to that, really, I'm exhausted, to be honest with you, of the lies and the deceit. And if this is what politics is supposed to be, and if this is the brand of politics that United Workers' Party they espouse, then clearly in this iteration of the United Workers' Party, I just want no part of it. I do not understand how somebody is caught dead to rights with the documents, the facts and everything else, and to be as shameless to come on a show and say that it's not a big deal when we all know that it is. If we know that it is, and I have to worry and wonder whether solutions, whether is this what, because I can clearly see the tactics being done there, like, it's not a big deal, and you're watching me, look at the other things y'all do. Is this what governance is? That you will make sure that your people, the Johannes brothers, Johannes now running because it's on your say-so, and now another man able to make $62 million in St. Lucia's name because you signed for it, and this is the response that you're giving the people of St. Lucia. Where is the government? Where is the Prime Minister who cares about, good governance, who cares about the way things are to be done? You know what he said? When at least people thought, oh, he didn't sign it, maybe he party signed me. What was his response to that? Oh, it always happens. It is an indictment on this administration, on this government, on us as a people, if we allow that to be, to go into nothing. Guy Joseph Safe n'importe ça il voulait. Et que y a pour ça? And I have to say it every day. It is astounding to me that can happen. I thought, because it's coming, you're on your show, find something better to say. It's that alone you can come there with, and that shows me, even when he says some things are doctored and you never know where it's coming from, we have yet to get anything definitive from Guy Joseph on that. But he is the Prime Minister's Prime Minister. What can you do? What can I do but come on a morning show and just bat any tail? I think it is important, like I said, to really understand it, and I think the leader of the opposition, rightfully so, decided to speak about this because it's not something that we should be forgetting anytime soon, and we must make sure that accountability is still there. And if St. Lucia wants accountability to still be there, if we do not want nepotism to rule this country, if meritocracy has to reign, if we need to be a country that actually has some worth, some self-respect and some self-worth, and a leader that understands its people, quite frankly, and I've not said this before as clearly, but yeah, Flub will have to go. For true, you'll have to go. Let's listen to what Pip had to say.
May 16th, 2016, CDB had the Lanion loan, approved loan. May 28th, now loan seller, take I save government two l'année, donc I pay about $11 million pay pour street lamps, pay Lucille. 11 million. Loan sala, te dit, yo te kay changer tout le lampe là, et mettez LED lamp that burn less current and would create and help in the greenhouse emissions, etc. That loan was decided between the Minister of Sustainable Development, Dr. Jimmy Fletcher, and the Minister of Infrastructure, that was me. We held meetings together, held joint meetings, and the cabinet approved it, and the CDB said the project was so good that the president recommended the loan. Now, fast forward, we lose elections in June. Fast forward, we go to whole of 2017, nothing. 2018, November 12th, a letter comes that says, on the letter of the Ministry of Economic Development, Housing and Urban Development, says, please be informed that the government of St. Lucia is currently engaged in discussions of Pejora Limited Associates about funding the street lighting project and the St. Jude Hospital project in St. Lucia. Now, what happened to the loan you got in 2016? Sakivi loan la. Parce que who currently involved?
After 2 years.
After 2 years. I put the hand on loan ki approved from the CDB, the premier lending institution in the country, in the region. They have approved it for you, and they say it's so good. The president's recommendation 9/2021. Mais actuellement, in 2018, you are currently engaged in discussions about the street lighting project. Let's go. The letter continues. Now you see, Yadi, that speaks to governance. It speaks to how these things impact on the running of the country, and the bottom line, which is how these things affect the people of St. Lucia. Because you could have saved $11 million on street lighting at least from the beginning of the year 2018 if you had gone with that proposal from the CDB.
The most important question to us, the Prime Minister is the Minister of Finance, right?
Yes.
And according to the letter you have there, why is Guy Joseph's signature on that letter?
We'll come to that in a while.
No more, sir, more relevant.
I do not know.
Because si la nan nom gi wes ko sab pou finance. Ki money a lot nom gi ka handle a lot minis ka si an bay gen pou fet l'argent.
No, nou kay pour répondre ça, nous kay parle about direct award salary. Okay. Right now, listen to the letter. Upon submission of proof of funding to execute the above mentioned project. You know what proof of funding is? Proof of funding mean ou joindre l'argent. Ou ça joindre l'argent. Mais une de mes ou déjà ni l'argent. So quand parler by un monde qui besoin proof of funding.
Et vous avez
mais CDB a pas l'argent.
So quand l'argent ça passer.
Yo pas point.
Yo pas point.
Bis il ka aller.
Parce que me ka dire mo ka di ou ka demander pour proof of funding. So let's là c'est upon submission of proof. So let's là ni pour buy proof of funding on ni l'argent pour faire street lighting project là. Et mais là vini ou déjà joindre tout l'argent from the CDB.
Mais yo pas point, il faut pas l'argent ka aller direct by contractor. Ou joindre li.
Comment ça parler là?
Let's go by contractor.
Upon submission of proof of funding to execute the above mentioned project, the government solution has agreed, and that is the most important part of that letter. Has agreed. So what you saying? Depuis où joigne l'argent, gouvernement kaiba au contract là. Mais ou déjà ni l'argent. So si tu es là où tu veux faire comme ça, pour ne pas prendre la CDB à Bao. Pourquoi personne, PS Commercial Bank, ça n'est plus bon terms, passer CDB à. So, the government of Lucia has agreed to enter into contractual agreement with the Pejora Limited Associates. So ça, let's say like dit, ou j'ai d'accord pour buy Pejora contract là. Exact question mondiale important. Pour qui ministre ça parle pour government of St. Lucia in the execution of projects. Echo Prime Minister of Finance or Prime Minister.
Yes, I just stop you. I find that very dull.
Very strange.
Yes.
Now let's go. Because you know, has agreed to enter into contraction. So, Ougandi, ou j'ai bail Pejora l'argent, ou j'ai bail le contrat là, ou pourquoi demander personne, ou pourquoi demander personne qui a fait.
Mais ça sur ça, so Guy Joseph c'est pour le ministère.
C'est où exception c'est ici pour decide.
Mais c'est comment on a eu.
Listen further. The government of Russia is also committed to repaying the loan of $62 million. Écris ça. Now, so multiply that. So about 170 million EC dollars.
EC, right?
Wow, c'est un chat là.
Hein? Et mes street light là, t'es 30. Comment tu dis? 30 million.
30 million.
Good.
So c'est un bon différence.
Bon différence. All right. Now,
I'm going to pay.
Now, the government is committed to repaying US. So, Muna Keki Letala, the government can't pay ça. You understand? You can the government can't pay. The rate of interest is 3.59 interest rate over 15-year period once the project is successfully completed. I mean, see somebody or pay, say by Mickey Mouse.
Champagne, I've heard a lot of discussion about some letter again, they say, that's circulating about that Pejora letter.
Yes.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
I've never heard more foolishness in my life. That is what the Labour Party has.
That's what they
A letter that says if you do projects, you will get paid. A letter that says if you are engaged and you meet the requirements. Do they understand what investment is and getting investors into St. Lucia?
We are open now for your calls. We're going to discuss anything that you want to, anything that I've said so far in the show, anything that you want to at all. But clearly you could see the guy Joseph Kayapwe to whole pay Papi show. So now when you're laughing at some serious allegations, and I see Pip laughing as well in almost like a incredulous way, like you can't believe that is happening. And then all of what is being said, this man is dismissing it as, you know, a letter of investment. And that's what I'm saying. Flabo pass outside investor and leeches is what the great word, when I'm say that's what it is, right? A leech patwa. That's what you people call business people and investors, leeches. How you can take Pejora that have $1,000 to its name, $1,000 to its name as capital, and feel that you can give them $62 million and say St. Lucia is going to pay for it, seeing if it. And you mean to tell me you like St. Lucia, you like us? Let's take the call. Y'all do not like, you cannot like somebody, you cannot like a country and do that. Let's take the call. Good morning. Good morning, caller.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Good
Tresha?
morning. Yes.
Hello.
Good morning, caller. Yes.
Morning, Tresha.
Yes, caller.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm not hearing you too clearly. Tresha, let us unpack some of the foolishness that Guy Joseph spoke there. Guy Joseph, in his attempt to deflect from and confuse the issue, is asking the question whether St. Lucians know what investment is. I mean, can you believe this? There is a specific issue on the table. A specific issue, first of all, looking at the question of whether Guy Joseph has the legal or ministerial authority to write and sign a letter. But he's talking about whether St. Lucians understand what investment is. But what does investment have to do with that question? That all-important question about whether he has or he had the legal and or ministerial authority to sign the letter, to write and sign the letter that he did. As far as I am aware, that authority rests with the Prime Minister, who is the Minister for Finance, who is Alan Chasney. So how does Guy Joseph get that authority? Now, Guy Joseph also tries to deflect by talking about the Labour Party leasing the seabed, that other matter, Grindberg. Tresha, first of all, a commission of inquiry sat on this Rochamel issue and found no wrongdoing or corruption. The commission of inquiry attributed no wrongdoing or corruption on the part of Kenny Anthony or the Labour administration. What the commission of inquiry found was that administratively, the Rochamel issue wasn't handled properly. But they found no corruption, no wrongdoing on the part of Dr. Kenny Anthony or the Labour Party administration.
But Kola, I think it's working because now we're harking back on to another issue.
I'm not hearing you clearly, Tresha.
I don't know
but
why.
Secondly, I'm Tresha. Those matters that Guy Joseph is referring to, those matters occurred in the 1997 to 2006 tenure of the St. Lucia Labour Party. At the end of 2006, the Labour Party was kicked. The United Workers' Party came in and they were kicked out of office in 2011. The Labour Party again got into office. So Guy Joseph is trying to introduce stuff that happened 15 to 21 years ago to deflect from and confuse the issue of what he's now being accused of. I mean, when Guy Joseph does something like that,
he wants. What you're doing even now, bringing it back and talking about, that it's already been resolved. We're taking away from the issue. What I do not want us to do is to go back onto any of these issues because that is what he wants. Stick to the Pejora letter. Do not get distracted because now you're relitigating the same thing that Rick Wayne and all the rest of them talking about Grindberg. I don't have no time. Map all about that. I'm talking to you, Guy, about the Pejora letter and how wrong you are and how criminal
exactly.
it is.
The matter on the table is your legal and or ministerial authority to write and sign the letter. Now, if you notice, Tresha, in terms of all that he's saying, he is actually saying, though he's not saying it, that, okay, I may have written and signed the letter, so what? There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that and trying to introduce or reintroduce the foolishness of Rochamel and the Grindberg. The thing is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. You, Guy Joseph, have absolutely no authority, whether legal, ministerial, or whatever, to write and sign that type of letter that you did. I mean, you're giving the whichever financial institution the government's commitment to repay a loan of US $62 million taken by Pejora, a company which, according to its documents, according to its filed documents, has shares valued at only $1,000, and you're giving this company the right to go ahead and negotiate a loan of US $62 million for which the government is giving its commitment to repay? I mean, this is craziness. This is madness beyond measure. And Guy Joseph is sitting there at those talk shows and trying to pretend that that is normal, that is nothing out of the ordinary, and the Prime Minister says nothing, the Chamber of Commerce says nothing, all of those other people who are in a position or in positions to decry, condemn that kind of behavior on the part of Guy Joseph and the government, because the Prime Minister is saying nothing, the rest of the cabinet, the rest of the members of cabinet are saying absolutely nothing. I mean, where does that leave us? Where does that leave us when we're already over $3 billion in debt, close to $2 billion of which was taken by this government in 5 years?
Kola, I need to...
Tresha, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I have someone on hold for a while now. Thank you very much, Kola, for your patience. Thank you for holding. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, miss.
I want to say... Good morning.
Yes, caller.
I'm calling to say I saw what Guy Joseph said last night, and I'm thinking, and as I'm watching you there right now, I'm thinking whether Guy thinks that we are stupid, or whether he thinks that St. Lucians are so backward. He cannot even justify what he did, because he's trying to cover it up, like you directly told the man not to get sidetracked, because that's what he tried to do there last night. He tried to move in the spotlight and to put the Labour Party in the spotlight. But then again, where did Guy get the right to do that? I think the Prime Minister knows about it. He's staying in the loop, but he knows about it. It's between the two of them. I don't, and in St. Lucians tell me they're not seeing to take out this man there because he will do it again. If he do it and he reach that far, he will do it again and he will just keep on doing it again. And we are the ones that are going to pay for it. Our children are the ones that are going to be paying for it at the end of the day. This is totally not right. It is not right. So why people trying to make it look like they justified and saying, oh, like this morning I heard a lady saying, oh, both sides doing it. I say both sides doing it. Both sides not doing it. He is the one that did it, and he's been doing it for a while. He's been doing it from small to growing up to big. Like he started it from small, so now you know when somebody's stealing, then you steal from small, and then you still think you can steal and get away with it, and that's what happened. Because he cannot even take out himself. He cannot even explain why that happened. He's talking like it's a joke thing that's going on there. It's not a joke.
It's not a joke.
It's people's life. It's really not a joke. Because at the end of the day, who is going to be paying for all of these monies and all of these tricks and all of these things? And you still want us to vote and put these kind of people here? These kind of things should, we don't have to think. These kind of things should tell us right away these things are not right, and we should stand for what is right and take out these people from there. Simple as that. There's no justifying about these things anymore. There's no giving a chance and all of these things, and and all of this nonsense these people come in and talk about there. And I do believe they have a lot of things they want to stay in government and clean up before the other party come out, and they will not see. But that will not happen because they just start to come out one by one. And Dominic Faye, they have something on TV and all over the radio saying the economy open and all this kind of nonsense. That's not true. Short hours alone, we working at the hotel. There are 2 hotels that still closed. Rendezvous on the other and thing is still closed. There are still thousands of people out of work. So what is he talking about things are happening? The ship not even coming again. The people in the arcade and all of these things, what they are giving them. Because at least they were waiting for a little thing to come. At least they would go back and do a 2 days work or something. But now the ship is not coming again. So how could he come all over the TV and all Sunday night talking this kind of nonsense and crap and think like we're stupid? We're tired of that. It's time to take out these people there. By the time I on the TV and I see these people, I see the yellow in my face, I already getting angry. Because we have had enough is enough. And everybody's there like, as if what guy do that like it's a joke. It's not a joke. We need to take a stand for that.
I agree with you.
Because he's going to keep on doing it. Thank you, Trisha.
Thank you very much, caller. Very, very well said. Thank you very much. I think we have another call.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
I'm Trisha.
Yes, sir.
I am calling on behalf of the 4-year-old from Jack Bell that is buried alive. I heard the news is now being dominated by all kinds of scandal. We all seems to forget that little 4-year-old that's without a mom. You heard that tune, Buried Alive? Let me tell you, I have a solution for that crime. Let me give you step 2 and step 3, and I have the balance. It's a long thing to deal with crime. You cannot deal with crime if you don't treat crime. First, to begin, if you catch anybody with an illegal gun, you're not sending the person to prison for the first time. You don't have to bail the person. You send this man and do community work for 6 months. And you put a curfew between 7 o'clock. He reported the police station. And 5 o'clock he's in. Listen, it is an illegal gun. The second time, if you catch him with that gun, you sending him to prison straight for 5 years and no questions. I know the lawyers will be angry with that because crime is their favorite dish. So Trisha, let me send a message to Bradley Felix. Let me tell Bradley Felix, this United Workers Party have been using the people of Saldibus and the people of Delse too long. Tell Bradley, I say, he have joined a mongoose gang. This is the words of Rufus Busky. A mongoose gang that bend on political mischief. The mischief are there. They destroy St. Jude. They destroy a stage at Sabwisha. They destroy the beach at Sabwisha. They destroy the beach at Piai. And he destroyed what Kenny Anthony had set for our passport to go for $2 million. Bradley Felix is part of a mongoose gang, and I want him to come out and tell the people where is the things he promised, the warehouse, the craft center in Delta Napret. So much things, the jetty he promised us, where is them things? So anyway, Tresha, goodbye.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your contribution. I think we've come to the end of the show. I want to thank all of you for watching and listening, and to the caller before, the one before, the lady. I want to thank you in particular because I think you have really expressed it in a way where we can all really understand and feel like we are being used. And this, you are right, it is not a joke. And when Guy is coming on the show, Champagne, qui please passe avant, will just respond with wow and nod his head for his money. That's all he can do. That's what he's getting paid to do. And Guy now is coming on that show to speak of something as significant as that, as corrupt as that, to do something that only the Prime Minister can do, only the Minister of Finance can do, to do something on our behalf, take our money and say that if anything, you're going to give 62 million US dollars, 170 million EC dollars on behalf of Pejora. Pejora no pa mem sav, Pejora ki say Makokotoa, the Johannes brothers and everything else like that. It is wrong. And I don't think we should ever give up on speaking about it. And if it's one thing I learned from Rick Wayne and the rest of them is to continue talking about a subject. And with the Pejora letter, if anything, we should be doing the same thing with that, because that cannot be right. It is not right. And for the people that are making millions in our heads and you want to call them investors, they are leeches. And shame on this administration for doing what they are continuing to do, for selling all our resources to buy keyboard, to everything that we have is being given away for your own political and personal gain. And if y'all feel anybody should be afraid of Guy, you are wrong. It is criminal what happened, and we deserve a better reaction, a better response from that. And in fact, Miles have key response, Lani. You know what's wrong about that, and using these deflection tactics, it will not work. We've come to the end of the show. I want to thank all of you for always being with us and having the conversations that we always do. Please, until I see you next time, be safe, and hopefully I'll see you Sibodivle at 11, where we will continue to discuss some more. Take care.
It's very clear that only the minister responsible for finance can give such guarantees. So as to whether the letter is authentic and that the minister chooses to give that kind of guarantee, it can be considered as being irresponsible.
So we asked the former Prime Minister what should be done with a minister who is, like he said, irresponsible.
Every minister who steps out of line and contravenes the ministerial code as to how do you operate as a government minister and as a member of cabinet, then it is the responsibility of the Prime Minister to reprimand or to take the necessary measures to address the situation, because no Prime Minister ought to be operating a cabinet in which ministers can do anything outside of their own purview and outside of the framework of the law.
Mr. Joseph, was the letter signed by you, Mr. Joseph? Mr. Joseph, you're not going to give us an interview?
I can't stay.